Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kurt. I'm a financial advisor with Turning Point Financial, and I will be your presenter today. Thank you for signing up for today's masterclass on the 5 pitfalls to avoid this year. We're really excited about today's presentation, and we believe everyone will come away with some new ideas. What you're about to hear represents the best and brightest thinking from our team and is the collective wisdom of over 100 years experience. You can learn a little bit more about me on this next slide. I have over 30 years experience in financial services. I started my career back in the 1980s on Wall Street. I'm a fiduciary, and I take that designation seriously because a large part of my career was spent in legal and compliance departments. I used to supervise financial advisors. I've seen good and bad things happen to family financial lives. I'm on the advising side of the business today to make a difference and provide financial literacy, advice, and clarity. My firm, Turning Point Financial, we're what's known as a registered investment advisor. We're regulated by the SEC. Our home office is located in Frederick, Maryland, and we specialize with federal employees. Our clients are from most of the federal agencies, and the clients are located nationwide. You don't have to be in the DC metro area to work with us. We use technology very well to communicate and service our clients across the entire country. As I said, I'm a fiduciary. The company's also a fiduciary. That means we're required by law to put your best interest first. We get asked that a lot because it's important. If you're looking for an advisor, this is a good question to ask because not every advisor out there is a fiduciary and held to the fiduciary standard. Our website is tpfinancial.com. It's not on this slide, but I'll have it up on a later slide. Here's a look at our webinar calendar for this year, what we've done and what's coming your way. If you'd like to be added to our distribution list to get a reminder, send me an email. I'll have my email address up in just a moment. As you can see, lots of exciting topics, and we're always open to suggestions on future topics that you'd like to learn more about. If you missed the January event, we've recorded that, and we're happy to share that along with the slides. Again, send me an email, and I'll send you that information. We are recording today's event, and that is obviously a recording that will be available once it's approved by our compliance team. Here's what we're going to be going over for the next 30 minutes or so. I like to be up front so there's no surprises. I did this presentation yesterday and I was reflecting on it this morning. And I just want to prepare you. It can be a little blunt, a little in your face. Part of that's my style. Part of that's my passion for these items. This stuff's important and I want to make sure that you understand how important it is and that it needs to get done. So I hope you don't find it offensive. Questions we'll take at the end. You're going to put those in the chat. I'll do my best to answer your questions. There will be an opportunity to meet with me if that's something you're interested in. Your participation today entitles you to a free consultation. I'll tell you how that works a little bit later. What we're doing today, this is educational. This is not a sales pitch. As I mentioned, slides available upon request, as well as the recording. You're going to send me an email to get those. So let's get after it. The 5 pitfalls, and they're in no particular order. Some may be obvious, some not. And if you attended our event in January, some of these look familiar, and that's because they're important enough and they matter enough that we will present the concept from different angles. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps you to recognize that some of these topics are super important aspects in your financial life that must be addressed. And I believe I have a responsibility to ensure that you address them. Today, we'll talk about why these are pitfalls, what it means to you, and the consequences of avoiding it. Your beneficiary, that's who gets your stuff when you get to the end of the line. Obviously, This is a pitfall, and it's important because if it's not addressed, then your loved ones will suffer, and someone else will be making decisions for you based on what they think you would have wanted. We review our clients' beneficiaries at least once a year, and you should too. Beneficiaries are on your TSP, your 401k, your IRA, life insurance. Some of you have TOD accounts. That's transfer on death. Those also have beneficiaries. Beneficiaries should be up to date and accurate at all times, and you want people. You do not want your estate, your will, your trust. That's almost all of the time. Anything other than people slows down the transfer process. Changing beneficiaries, it's easy. It's online in many places now. Others still require paper. Every type of account I mentioned, it has a beneficiary, and you need to know who that is. If you can't find it, can't figure it out, get someone to help you. I can help you. Beneficiary designations, that's different than your will, and each operates separate and independent of one another. You can leave everything to your spouse or partner in your will, but that doesn't include these beneficiary accounts. Let me explain. We had a couple that we worked with that had this situation. Their will said to leave everything to the wife. The IRA beneficiaries were the siblings. The bulk of the assets were in the IRA, and that created a problem for the wife. Bring this up because coordination is important. Your estate attorney, your financial advisor, they should be working together on your behalf to distribute the assets the way that you want. If you don't have beneficiaries assigned and something happens, a judge will be making the decisions. That's not what you want, and certainly not what your loved ones need. It can take a long time and cost a lot of money. Let me know if you don't understand this. Really important. Our next 3 slides are just a continuation on this theme of the importance of having accurate beneficiaries and having basic estate planning docs. That's a will, a power of attorney, a healthcare directive. I've been asked many times about online or do-it-yourself estate plans. Our advice, don't do that. There's too much to know, too much to understand, and it's simply best left to an estate attorney. It's worth what it cost. I can say this because I've worked in situations where wills were done online and they looked great. They made sense. The intentions were clear, but there were problems. Problems because they weren't printed, they weren't signed, they weren't witnessed, they weren't notarized. All that matters, and it sounds like minor details, but it can make the difference between a will being valid or not valid. Don't cut this corner. Don't do this to your loved ones. We're not estate attorneys at Turning Point, but we can recommend someone for your area. We don't get paid on it. We work with a network of attorneys across the country. Also, consider asking your friends, your family, your neighbors, get some recommendations. In the long run, it's worth it to spend the money and get it done right. If you don't, it will likely still cost the beneficiaries. And those costs are not only financial, they're emotional, and they're mental. MetLife Legal, that's a benefit available to federal employees. And it's worth having, even if you use them for only this purpose. Check out MetLife Legal if you need to get this done. It's probably the most cost-effective way to do it. As I said, I'm not an estate attorney, but I know enough to be dangerous, and I can confidently say that everyone needs some sort of estate plan, and that's regardless of how old you are, your marital status, your stage in career, whatever. Without it, your loved ones will inherit a tangled mess. 3 of the 4 things listed here on this slide are something that we all need. Trusts, that's a maybe, and most people don't need it. Keeping your estate plan up to date is just as important as keeping your beneficiaries up to date. Bad things may happen if you don't, and you don't want to do that to your loved ones. Reviewing your estate plan should be done every 5 to 10 years. I had mine updated after 20 years, and the laws in Maryland where I live, they had changed, so it was necessary. My adult kids, they got to be involved in the process, and it was a nice learning experience for them. Folks, this pitfall is straightforward and it's easily addressed. You avoid this pitfall by reviewing your beneficiary designation and ensuring that they're accurate, up to date, and by also having an estate plan. Please email me if you need an estate attorney recommendation for your area. Our next pitfall is about not getting paid what you should. Specifically, we're talking about your bank and the interest it's paying you. Again, our slides available upon request along with the recording. Shoot me an email if that's something you're interested in. I'll have my contact info up at the end. I would like everyone to check your savings and money market rates and call your bank if you're not earning at least 4%. That's the threshold. If they can't pay you that, I recommend setting up an account with an online bank and linking it. It's easy, and I've been using Capital One for a long time. They're currently paying 4.35%. My account is linked to my primary bank at Truist because Truist is only paying 2% on its savings account. Think about it. That's more than double. And if you have a large balance, you will earn substantially more. Folks, what I'm really referring to and speaking about is your emergency fund, which we all should have. And that's our next slide. Life happens. And because of that, we all need an emergency fund. The refrigerator breaks down. We have car issues. It's the unexpected, and you need to be prepared. Everything here on this slide matters, so please take care of it. Emergency funds are liquid, and I'm often asked about this. Our advice is to not invest it. At most, you might invest in some short-term CDs or short-term treasuries. Now, it's common that people have a lot more in the bank than they need. We recommend that the excess be invested. However, we all have our own comfort zone or amount we need to see in the account to feel comfortable. I'm talking about amounts greater than that 3 to 6 month guideline. That's 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Just don't want you to have substantially more than that. That's okay. Just make sure you're earning a fair interest rate. TSP contributions and pitfalls surrounding it is our next topic for discussion. This is a pitfall because it may be costing you money and increasing the amount of risk that you're taking. For those of you who are able to max out your TSP or IRA, let me explain. I've met with many federal employees who max out their TSP before the end of the year, some in the middle of the year. And that's great that they're able to do that. But doing so in a compressed period, it creates additional risk and it removes the opportunity to participate later in the year when the market may be a more favorable investment environment. I note that in the last bullet here on this slide. The fundamentals of dollar cost averaging, which is what you're doing with the TSP contribution, that addresses both. Plus, you'll see larger paychecks when you contribute over the entire 12 months. I hope this makes sense, and if not, please let me know. Anyone who's not maxing out your TSP, we'd like you to think about increasing your contribution by a single percentage point every year, or maybe it's a dollar amount when you get a raise. This should be automatic. They go together. This is how people get to max out. They're bumping it up a little bit each year. If you also make IRA or other investment contributions, you want to think about doing something different in those accounts that complements what's going on in the TSP. TSP has just the 5 funds, and that makes it easy to do something different, perhaps something specific in your other accounts that's not available in the TSP. Some examples would include sector funds that specialize in technology, healthcare, real estate. These are not recommendations, just ideas. Some people, they put too much money in their retirement accounts, and that can be easy to do if you're focused on an early retirement. I've got 2 real-life examples for you of families that I worked with. One is a couple with 3 kids who were aggressive savers and had a dream of retiring at 50. They had all their money in retirement accounts. Life changed. They decided they want to relocate from Maryland to Florida. Closer to family, different lifestyle, those sort of things. They needed some money to be able to pull this off and do it. They needed money for a down payment. They needed money for home renovations. They dipped into the retirement accounts because they had to fulfill this dream. Taxes and early withdrawal fees. Not a good way to go. There's a better way to do it. Second story. Young man, young entrepreneur, small business owner, had some debt he wanted to take care of, called me up last week. Hey, my Roth IRA, I want to take money out of there. I want to do this. I want to do that. The business, debt. Okay. Guess what? That's not such a good idea. You've got other sources of money you can pull from. Take money out of your Roth, there's a 10% early withdrawal penalty. Fortunately, he didn't do it. These pitfalls are avoidable if you're thoughtful with your retirement accounts and how you're allocating your savings. It starts with your emergency fund. Then address your goals. And if you've got big goals, big ticket items like a car and a house, well, then you're allocating funds to those specific areas for those purposes. After those 2, then we're funding retirement accounts. I hope this makes sense. Next, it's an election year, and that means a lot of noise. Ignore the noise, please. If you attended last month, we also used these slides in that presentation. We've got 2 slides focused on our election year. And election years usually produce positive returns by about 8 or 9%. 18 of the last 19 election years, they've been positive in the stock market. You will have volatility, and we've seen that already this year, last week, yesterday. Things are going to be messy, so buckle up, get your head straight. By this, I mean, do not panic. Do not make emotional decisions based on what you're hearing in the news or who you think the next president will be. Ignore the noise is what I'm telling my clients. There will be opportunities, but that doesn't, mean you should try and time the market. Our advice is to stay the course. Stay the course with your periodic payroll contributions to your TSP. And if your spouse or partner has a 401k or 403b, they should be doing the same. Some of you also contribute regularly to IRAs and other investment accounts. Continue to be disciplined with those contributions through the volatility, through the ugliness of political theater. This strategy of dollar cost averaging, it will reward you over the long term because you're taking advantage of the highs and the lows during these times of deep uncertainty. Having someone to talk to, someone to get advice from, that's healthy. Don't go it alone, especially if you're not working with a financial advisor. Talk to your spouse, your partner, your friend, your neighbor, someone you trust before taking any action. This will help you avoid the big mistake. And if you like, we're available to help you navigate the uncertainty of this year. Here on this slide, you see a 90-year historical graph of the stock market through various election years. You can see it's up and to the right, and that means growth, and your money is growing. Folks, it doesn't matter who's in the White House, who wins this year and in future years. I hope this makes sense and provides a little comfort. As I said, it's going to be a messy year, and it's good to have someone help you to navigate the noise. We avoid this pitfall by not panicking, not making emotional decisions. Stay engaged with your investment programs. As I said, you should expect increased volatility this year, and that means wild swings in your portfolio values. Having someone to talk through this stuff is recommended, and if you like, we're available. Our last pitfall is avoiding leaving the IRS a tip. What does that mean? It means overpaying taxes, and nobody wants to do that. Get yourself set up with the right accounts so that you're getting tax deductions, getting tax deferred growth, tax-free growth, getting advice around asset location. Asset location means having the right type of investments in the right type of accounts. These are the sort of things that your financial advisor, your tax advisor, they help you with those. This pitfall is important because if you don't get it right, you're going to end up paying more taxes than you need to. What the heck am I talking about? There are little things you can do today, this year, and beyond to lower your long-term tax bill. Participating in the Roth is just one example. Taxes are expected to be higher in the future, and the Roth will help you to manage that. Everyone here today should be making contributions to your Roth, and that's a Roth IRA or Roth TSP. Roths are funded with after-tax money. They grow tax-free, they come out tax-free. That's tax-free income. That can have a major impact during your retirement years. Tax-free income in retirement can lower Medicare premiums, lower the taxes you pay on your Social Security benefits, and Roths can reduce or eliminate required minimum distribution. This is tax planning, and it involves understanding all your sources of income during retirement. Some of the accounts referenced here, that will be where that income comes from. Medicare premiums range between $175 and $600 a month, depending on your income. If you plan well and have a solid source of tax-free income, then you will have lower Medicare premiums. See, the tax-free income doesn't impact what you pay for Medicare or how much of your Social Security will be taxed. I hope this is sinking in and making a little bit of sense because most people don't understand this aspect of tax planning. Some of you have heard me say before, it's okay to pay our fair share of taxes, but no one wants to leave the IRS a tip. And if you're not proactive with tax planning, it's likely that you're leaving the IRS a tip. What are you really earning? We all love to make money, see our account values grow, but if our investments are not tax efficient, then we're likely making a lot less than what we think. What's your rate of return after you pay federal, state, and local taxes? That's not something most people think about. I have some clients saving for a house. They have several $100,000 in the bank, and they're earning that plus 4% interest I mentioned. It's substantial. We did an after-tax analysis for them and discovered they're earning a lot less than they realized. We were able to show them a way to earn 50% more on an after-tax basis using U.S. Treasury securities, which are exempt from federal taxes. Further, Treasuries are better than the bank and FDIC insurance because you're not subject to those limits. Next, Some of you are mutual fund investors, and you get that not so nice surprise every December when the fund company declares its dividends and capital gains. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And these tax consequences can cause you to owe the IRS a lot of money. It doesn't have to be that way. There are different types of funds that don't do that to you. I'm referring to ETFs, or exchange traded funds, which have different tax structures. Some of you know what I'm talking about. If not, and if this is happening to you, I'd highly recommend that you schedule some time with me to learn a little bit more about how this works. One last story. New client of mine. Within her IRA, she owned some investments that were causing her to have to pay taxes. Highly unusual, highly irregular. Her former investment manager had bought these particular types of investments that created income that was taxable, even though it was in an IRA. Needless to say, she moved her account and we were able to get rid of those investments, and the IRA is growing tax deferred, which is what she had intended. My point is, make sure you know what you own and how it works. Moving along, here is everything we discussed today. We'll get to some questions in just a moment. These are things for you to consider from our presentation. We're back again in March, and we're going to be educating you on Social Security and Medicare. Here's my full contact information, website information. I'm on LinkedIn. I know I'm connected with many of you already. I post content there regularly. I post these events there. I also have my own monthly newsletter. It's free. I encourage you to sign up for it. Just send me an email. Our next distribution happens to be this week. It's called Weekend Reads. Lastly, I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation that your participation today entitles you to a free consultation with me. Send me an email if you're interested, and we'll schedule a time to meet virtually or by the phone. If you happen to be in the Frederick area and you want to come to the office, I'm happy to meet with you here. We can talk about this stuff in greater detail. We can talk about other aspects of your financial life where you have questions or you might be troubled. Thank you all for being here today. If you have questions, you can send me an email or schedule a time to meet. Again, your participation today entitles you to a free meeting. Thanks again for being here. Have a wonderful afternoon. If we can be of service, please reach out.